Hey guys, and welcome back to the Teach the Children podcast. I'm your host, Laura Battles, and this week I wanted to dive a little bit into how I do a slow start at the beginning of the school year and how we don't just dive headfirst into each and every subject and we slowly build into our school year. But before I do, can I ask that you guys take 30 seconds and go out and like, subscribe, share this podcast with your friends who maybe are considering homeschool. You can also give us a 5-star rating if you think we deserve it. That just helps all the podcasting algorithms out there get this podcast out to more people who are maybe on the fence about homeschooling. And also give a shout out to the Hungry for Wisdom podcast network at hfw.network. That is a group of 4 other podcasters, and go give them a like and subscribe so you can learn more from them and more people just start to hear about their podcast. All right, so how we do a slow start around the Battles household. 2 episodes ago, if you go back and look at episode, I think it's like 14 or 15, I talked about how I plan for the school year, and I do our planning in 6-week chunks with the 7th week as a week of a rest. And it's more of a week of a rest for the kids and for me teaching. But in that 7th week, I review the previous 6 weeks and make some adjustments, plan for the next 6 weeks. And then we then dive into those 6 weeks. And on the 7th week, I do the same thing. I don't do as much teaching. The kids get a lot of a break. I review what we've done. And that's how I sort of do our whole year. The summer, we take a little bit longer of a break. And that is just for everybody's sanity. But with that being said, the first 6 weeks of the school year, of our school year, especially with us being independent, I can sort of start whenever. But when I actually start down and plan those first 6 weeks of sort of the new school year, I don't have us jump into everything all at once. And if you take a look at a public school classroom, you would see that they also don't jump into everything all at once. Their first week back, they're easing kids in. They don't start the first day going over math and reading and writing and language arts and history. That would just be completely overwhelming to everybody, including the teachers. So they also do a slow start. So how I do it is week 1, I start with maybe 1 or 2 things, and that's it. So all summer, we've been doing grammar, spelling, and Bible. So we just sort of keep those up and going year round, especially right now where we're trying to just really drill in grammar and spelling. But we've been doing those year round. So those are sort of our baseline. So week 1, I added writing and explode the code. And that was it. And after week 1, we took a deep breath. And for week 2, I added in, which is the week that we're doing right now, math. And so I added in math for all 3 of my kids. And this year we are doing something I've never done before with our math, is that we are starting actually from lesson 1. Usually with Saxton math, I will test them into where I think they're going to be roughly at, because the first 30 or so lessons in Saxton is always review from the previous level. But this year, because we are starting math a little bit earlier in our school year, and I want to just do a lot of review, I just went ahead and started everybody at lesson 1. And we're just doing 2 lessons a day. And as long as everything is going okay, I'll do 2 lessons until we get probably to lesson 30 in Saxton math, and then I'll start slowing down and doing one lesson a day. But with that said, this week, the only thing we started was math, and we didn't do anything else. That was all. I mean, we did the other subjects, but we didn't add anything else to our homeschool. And so this is week 2. Week 3, I will also not add anything to it. I'm going to just keep us going with spelling, grammar, our Bible. Writing and explode the code are more independent work that I don't do a lot of teaching on. It's up to the kids to sort of take leadership in those 2 things that they do. If they have questions, they come ask me, but there's not a lot of like my hands-on. With math, there's a lot more hands-on. So we just go very slow and we ease ourselves into math. So that was like week 1, 2, 3. Week 4, I will then add our history and our literature. And so it will have been almost a full month from us starting to when I essentially add everything in to our homeschool that we're going to do for the whole year. And so for us this year, I'm doing Sunlight Level F. It's Eastern Hemisphere. And we are all going to do that. Usually I have my youngest do his own history, but this year all 3 kids are going to do exactly the same history. We're going to learn all about the Eastern Hemisphere, and we're going to dive into that. But I don't know how labor intensive it is for myself or for the kids. So on week 4, we will start that, and we won't add anything else that week. And the same with week 5. So week 4 and week 5, we'll add that in and see how it goes. Then on week 6, I'll probably add in science, and we do science 1, maybe 2 days a week, and we'll see how that goes. And then on week 7, it's our break week. So I will have a chance to look back over all the things we did and say, was this too much? Too little? It's not going to be too little. I can guarantee that. But was it too much? How can I change our work week around? Do we need to do science on maybe Monday instead of Friday? Can I combine some kids with a math lesson and do them together? We'll sort of I'll start filling out exactly how I want the next 6 weeks to go. And so that's how I do a very, very slow start to the year. Do you suddenly realize that your house is too small? Or are you looking around and you realize your house is too big? Either way, Realty One Group Ignite is here to help you. Their realtors are the best in the Tri-Cities, and they want to help every single one of the homeschoolers get into the house that fits them best. Because remember, you can't homeschool without a home. So check out Realty One Group Ignite. Their realtors are here to help you. And they're major sponsors of the Teach the Children Homeschool Convention and the Homeschool Resource Center. Now you can start even slower. I know a couple of friends of mine, they don't even go that quickly into things. They wait until 2 months in, then they start history or science or whatever it is that is something that's a little bit more robust. But because I use Sunlight and it has a companion, Bookshark, if you're using HomeLink or MCP, you can't use Sunlight, but you can use Bookshark. That and along with I can't think of what it is right now, Moving Beyond the Pages, things like those, they are structured for 36 weeks, which is like a public school year amount of weeks, 36 weeks. If you are at HomeLink or MCP and you're using one of those, they may ask that you start those right away so you can completely finish them. So I would try to finagle how you want to slow start your year. I have the flexibility of combining some weeks or throwing some weeks out or going a little bit later with just Sunlight. But if you are using HomeLink or MCP with those all-in-one curriculums, you sort of need to start them right away because they are 36-week curriculums and the school year is 36 weeks. So if that was me, I would start week 1 with the Sunlight, history, Bible, or history and language arts and literature, and then add in maybe Explode the Code, and then add in math, and then add in science. And I would just really work with your consultant on the best way you can slowly add things in instead of just being like, hey, it's day 1 or week 1, and we're going to just completely jump in, and then you're all overwhelmed. And by the end of week 1, everybody wants to quit. And that's really the reason why I slow start, is to make sure that at the end of the first 6 weeks, we're not all wanting to quit, and we're not all overwhelmed, and we're not all crying at the end of every week. I mean, I cry a lot anyways, but crying extra at the end of 6 weeks is my goal. And so by slow starting, I'm able to just ease us into the school year. So week 7, I said, is our take a break review. So on that next 6 weeks, the first week of the second set of 6 weeks, I may not do science that week. I'll just get us back, get the train going again. And then on week 2 of the second set of 6 weeks, I'll add back in science, and then we'll be full steam ahead until the 7th week. We'll take a break, full steam ahead. And then usually about that time, we get into the holiday season. And then when January starts, I pretty much start everything back in all at once. I may cut us back a little bit, but usually I don't. We just jump right in, come in January, we get going, and that is about 2 chunks a time. We hit spring break. We do about 1 or 2 more chunks a time, and then we're into summer. And so there's really not a chance for me to do a slow start at the first of the year and get everything finished up and wrapped up and completed. Now, if my kids are, my 2 youngest are still working on handwriting without tears and Explode the Code. So let's say I want to slow start them into that, which I do, but one of them gets really like a wild hair and they just take off and they do the whole book. I'm not upset. I'll just, go buy the next book in the series, or we'll go back and we'll clean up a bunch of stuff that maybe they did it not to the best of their ability, and then we'll move forward with that. So it does give us a lot of flexibility, especially in the wintertime when there's a lot more sicknesses running around. If we miss a week, I can easily flex because I've seen the whole picture and we've slow started everything in. There's a lot more relaxation to, oh my goodness, we're sick. Now I still have to keep going because there's no flexibility. There is flexibility built in, and we can take a step back, or I've looked ahead and we can do weeks 14 and 15 together. I did that a little bit last year. We got a little bit behind on the sunlight. And so I just started doubling up weeks and throwing out copies of things. Like if we were going to do the same thing twice each week, I just combined it and we moved forward. And so that was really helpful with us having a slow start. Nobody felt overwhelmed. And then there was lots of flexibility in our schedule throughout the whole year. So I would recommend that. Again, if you're with HomeLink or MCP, talk to your consultant and see if you can just slow start and not have to dive essentially off the deep end and go, start treading water right away. Let's see if you can float a little bit and relax, start your school year, especially if this is your first year. Don't feel like you have to do it all the first week. Definitely don't do that. And definitely, I will say this also, just another pro tip, like for with math and reading, let me think, what else would it be? Math and reading for sure. Set a timer for 20 minutes. And once the timer goes off, you're done. Just walk away from it and you can start it again tomorrow. I used to drill my oldest in math for hours and we would end up crying, and because I hadn't gotten through the lesson. I did that for a few months and I realized, you know what? We're going to set a timer for 20 minutes and whatever we get done, and we'll just roll it into the next day. And it has worked so much better where there's way less tears. We now have a flow with math. He can do a lot of it on his own. He comes to me for questions, but I saw that breakdown in our relationship. And so I just said, we need a timer. And it also was the first year I jumped headfirst into everything, only to realize you could slow start. I didn't realize you can do that. I don't know why I didn't realize that, but I realized after the first year we can slow start. And I have been doing that ever since that first year. So I just want to give you that little bit of encouragement. Ease into the school year. You don't have to jump off and do everything all at once. The public classrooms are not doing everything all at once. A lot of them at the beginning of the year are doing placement testing. So they're really not doing a ton of new learning yet for that first month. So by slowly starting in, you're not any farther behind than they are. You actually are probably ahead because you've gotten a lot more relationship building and trust going with your kids. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about slow starting for this year. It's the week before, when this episode airs, it'll be the week before school starts. I know I'm going to start doing a few things now that there'll be less people at the parks and hopefully less of these 100+ degree days, and I can go out with my kids and enjoy the little bit last of summer. And so go do that with your kids. Slow start in. Even if the first week all you do is like one thing, spend the rest of your days outside with your kids. Go hiking. Go on a nature walk. Go up in the mountains. there is so much this time of year that you can be done outside and still be counted as school. So thanks guys for listening in. I hope you have had a great summer. I hope you ease smoothly into the fall, and I'll be back on next week to talk a little bit more about homeschooling.